Hello, my voiceover friends. How are you? Hope things are going well. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. By the way, I'm assuming if you're watching that you are a subscriber of the channel, but maybe for some reason you are not. If not, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and make sure that you're notified whenever fresh new content is being released. And what I'm doing right now is doing a live video pretty much every weekday morning. I don't know that it will always be 5 days a week, but I'll try to do at least 3 to 4, leaning more towards 4 and 5. That's the plan, just to share a thought or two with you before, you start your voiceover day. But today I wanted to talk specifically about, well, there are two things that come up a lot. And those things are twofold. One is breaths. I was just asked again on Friday, actually it was during my live stream, someone was asking, well, how do I get rid of breaths? How does that happen? The other that I hear a lot is, what about mouth noise? How can I get rid of mouth noise? So let's talk about those things for just a second. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to talk about mouth noise. Tomorrow, I am going to talk about getting rid of breaths. All right. So make sure not only, to stay tuned to the entirety of today's video, but check it out tomorrow as well, as hopefully these two videos will help you to minimize, if not completely get rid of, the thing. It seems to be the bane of all voiceover talent existence, noise in the form of breaths and mouth noise. So this morning, mouth noise. There are 3 things to keep in mind. There are 3 steps, and my suggestion is that you follow these 3 steps in order to get rid of mouth noise. A lot of people jump straight to or try to find a software solution. That is your last line of defense, not your first line of defense. Your first line of defense is being physically aware of when you're making that noise. Because all of us, when we talk, there's nobody that doesn't make some sort of mouth noise. It just doesn't happen. But by being aware of it, becoming conscious of it, a lot of people just aren't conscious until they go back to listen to their recordings. And it's like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? So the big thing is, in being conscious, is noticing when it happens. What kind of sounds are you making? What words are you saying where you see it pop up over and over again? And usually what happens physically is a couple of things. One is that you're allowing your lips to touch when they don't need to be. If you ever watch me, like if you were in my voiceover blueprint program and you watch me as I work during the day, as I live stream, what you would notice is that as I'm recording between sentences, I don't touch my lips. Like right now, my lips are not touching between sentences. If I were to allow my lips to touch, if I just rest my mouth and allow my lips to come together, when I open my mouth, what do I have? I have mouth noise. Yeah. And it's one more thing to think about, I realize, but what will happen in a short amount of time, you'll do it without even thinking about it. Honestly, I don't even think about mouth noise as I record, because I become so accustomed. Not that I don't make mouth noise, but I've minimized it. But I don't have to concentrate on it while I'm working, because out of habit, my lips don't touch between sentences and phrases. The mouth is always open, and that will eliminate so much of your mouth noise, because again, your lips touch when you open your mouth. Now, there are words you have to pronounce where your lips will touch, and that's okay. It's usually just a quick little touch, but it's when you rest and then open your mouth, you've got mouth noise. The other thing is just being aware not to allow your tongue to needlessly move around in your mouth and, for instance, rest against the top of your mouth. Because when you separate them, and forgive me, I'm not trying to be gross here, but it's just, you hear that noise. It's when your tongue presses against the top of your mouth and you let it sit there for a moment or two, and then you pull it apart, it's going to make a noise. Now, again, I can't overstate this enough. You're going to have mouth noise. Everybody has mouth noise. What we want to do is minimize it. And this first step will take care of a lot of it. It takes a little bit of practice. But again, between phrases, between sentences, don't allow your lips to touch. Also, get in the habit of keeping your tongue still. when you're not talking between sentences. I don't needlessly allow my tongue to move around and hit the sides of my mouth or the roof of my mouth between sentences. And again, I've done it. I've done this for a while now, so I don't think about it. It just now it's subconscious, and with just a little bit of practice, it'll be the same for you. So again, by keeping minimal, the excessive movement of your mouth in terms of your lips and your tongue minimal, that will take care of a lot of the mouth noise that you deal with. That's a lot of it. Okay, so that's step one. Okay, step two is editing out mouth noise. Okay, it's not your first line of defense, it's your second line of defense. First is minimize extra movement of the tongue and the lips. Number two is editing out mouth noise. Now, the easiest way that I have found to do that is using the spectral view within Adobe Audition. I'm sure there are spectral views available in other DAWs, software programs. I don't know which ones do, which ones don't, but I'm just telling you, Adobe Audition, it's one of the greatest features of that. And it allows you to see your the waveforms not in the up and down, the curves, but it does it in color and shape. And the best thing I can suggest is to demo Adobe Audition. I think you can use it for a few weeks, I believe for free. And look at your recordings in spectral view, and you can begin to identify, and now I've done it so much, I can see it immediately. There are shapes and colors that will identify, usually shapes will identify mouth noise. Color can help to identify excessive sibilance. It's amazing what you can see when you see it in spectral view. And so it's more three-dimensional editing. In other words, if you're using a waveform editor, you're editing everything from here to there. But if you're using spectral, you can also go in and just take a little bit out this way. It's not, you don't have to take out everything between point A and point B. You can just circle, or or highlight the area that you want. You can either turn it down a little bit or you can take it out completely. But you can begin to manipulate the sound that way. And again, it takes a little while to get used to it, and it feels a little awkward at first. And I'm told, thank you, Michael, Audacity has it too. Awesome. That's good to know. That's really good to know that Audacity has it, because I know so many people use Audacity, and for good reason. It's open source and it's free. So I'm glad to hear that. So use the spectral view. So between not moving your lips and tongue any more than is necessary for the recording, and by using, and then by editing out mouth noise, that right there, that's going to take care of a lot of your problem. And if you get really good at those things, you could probably get by with just doing those things. But the good news is there is software available to help you clean up whatever's left over. Now, people have preferences as to what they like. For instance, my son, Alex, who you hear me refer to from time to time, he's an audio engineer. He's a professional studio or audio engineer, and he prefers Isotope RX. That's what he uses. Within that, there's a module for taking out mouth noise. He swears by it. I have a very good friend of mine, who's a professional full-time voiceover talent. He swears by it. So I have no doubt that it's excellent. I use and have been using X Crackle by Waves.com for years. And that's my personal favorite. Now, Waves has there's two plugins. I just want to make sure I don't confuse the issue. One is X Click and the other is X Crackle. I've experimented with X Click, but it doesn't, with my mouth noise, I just find that it's hard for me to find the sweet spot and just to take out those little snap, crackle, and pop, that happens. That it seems to be a little too aggressive. The X Crackle, which was that plugin was created to help take out the snap, crackle, and pop of vinyl records. That was the purpose. That's why it was created. But I found that it does a really nice job of taking out those little extra here and there in my recordings. And it does it. I always compare it to like a fine grit sandpaper, like the finishing sandpaper. If you're doing a woodworking project, that last sandpaper that you use that creates that really smooth, refined surface, that's what X Crackle does. It just takes off some of those little nicks and sharp edges and burrs and smooths it down to where it's just kind of glossy and makes it sound more finished and mastered. And so that's why I like it. And you can buy it on sale for, I think, $29 on occasion. But again, a lot of people love the iZotope, and there are probably others as well, which, I'm not trying to pitch a brand. I'm just telling you that the software can help. But remember, that's not your first line of defense. If you don't do the other first two things, which is minimize the movement of your tongue and your lips when you're recording, and physically editing out, within the software. If you don't do those things first, the software is not going to, I'm running a plugin, a noise reduction plugin is not going to save your project. That's your last line of defense. But if you learn to become good at those three things as well, and and Kevin says Reaper has as well. Awesome. That again, it doesn't surprise me that other DAWs are using it, because it's such a wonderful tool, to have. But if you do those three steps in that order, and again, it'll feel a little awkward, maybe a little difficult at first when you start thinking, okay, don't move my lips more than I need to. Don't move my tongue more than I need to. It may feel a little burdensome at first, but what I'll tell you is after a while, even as I talk to you now, I'm not moving my lips and my tongue between sentences and phrases. It's just a habit now. I don't even think about it. It's just habit. But you do that, you learn to edit well, and then you use the software plugin. It will, it's just, for me, mouth noise, again, I have it and I have to deal with it, but it's such a minor issue now, because number one, I've minimized it on the front end, and number two, now I've done it so much, the editing, I can do it quickly. It's just not an issue anymore. And it's one of those things, there's some things that you have to deal with, but you want it to get to the point where it's not an issue that you're laboring with every day. And those three steps have helped me immensely. So try those out today, see what happens, leave comments, let me know your experience with it and how it works for you. And if you have any additional suggestions, make sure you share those as well. And then on tomorrow's video, I am going to talk about dealing with breaths, the other, dreaded noise that people are concerned with. Should there be breaths? Should there not be breaths? How much of a breath is there? How do I deal with breaths that I don't want? All of that, we'll talk more about that tomorrow morning. So again, hopefully this tip will help make it a good day, and just want to get your day off to the right start. Let's see here. Musa is asking, is it necessary to buy expensive programs for beginners, or will cheap free programs suffice? When it comes to recording software, I know Audacity has worked well for many, many people, including people who do voiceover on a full-time basis. So I'm a fan of Adobe Audition. Part of it is because I have used it. I've used it since before it was Adobe Audition. For those of you who come from a broadcast background, you might remember Cool Edit Pro. That's where I learned to do digital editing, back a year or two ago. And then Adobe Audition bought it. So I'm thoroughly steeped in it. And so, for that reason alone, I probably would never, ever leave it. But secondly, it is a software program that is built specifically for voiceover. It's not built for music or anything else. So it doesn't have extra features that really you don't need. Everything around it is very voiceover centric. And so I find the features that I use to be extremely, extremely helpful. And Adobe's just a great company. And so, I can work with great confidence knowing they're always working to create great, solid updates on it, and that it's going to be around for a long time. But that's, again, it's the audio quality you're going to get is going to be the same with one as it is with the other. It's the features that you get. Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video today. I appreciate it. Don't forget, tomorrow we talk about those breath sounds that you're dealing with and how to get that under control, and make it a good day. We'll talk to you soon.